Hwang Yura is an actress who wants to achieve everything without anyone's help. However, it has remained unknown to anyone for 7 years. The guy she was dating ended up leaving her and marrying someone else. But by a happy coincidence, Hwang Yura gets a small role in a popular project where the well-known Kang Seong-hyun is filmed. During the filming, an accident occurs and Seong-hyun is rescued by Yura. Will Kwan Yura be able to turn over the page of her life, or will she remain an unknown actress? Chapter 1. Events begin to develop in one of the skyscrapers of the business quarter on a clear, sunny day. The host of the event thanks everyone for coming. Meet the heroes of today, Kim Jong-woo and Moon Mi-ra. The presenter's voice rang out from the speakers. Please support them with applause. The people present in the hall turned towards the stage with interest. We ask the groom to come forward. The presenter's voice continued to sound from the speakers. Under the applause from the audience, a handsome man in a black wedding suit began to come on stage. But not everyone in the audience was delighted with his exit. A long-haired girl in a brown coat was sitting at one of the tables. She hid her eyes behind sunglasses. So it means, is this how you're going to end the relationship in which you betrayed me? She exclaimed angrily in her head. The events of a week ago began to flash before her eyes. An envelope fell on the table, in which wedding invitations are usually sent. The girl looked at the envelope in bewilderment. The guy continued to drink coffee calmly. What is it? She asked nervously. I'm going to get married, she heard in reply. My future father-in-law is a potential presidential candidate for the next term. His daughter and I have a lot in common. Besides, we belong to the same class, and there is a huge gap between you and me. These words shocked her. You're terribly naive, although no, it's rather called stupidity. The world of bright memories in her head began to crack like an old mirror, in the reflection of which she seemed to see their happy moments. How could you buy it at all and not suspect anything when I said that I was filming a movie and would not be able to answer because of a busy schedule? And, although yes, you need to star in a really worthwhile project at least once to know about all the subtleties of the schedule. A treacherous mockery sounded that finally destroyed everything that the heroine had lived up to that time. A loud ovation for a couple of newlyweds unexpectedly threw her out of cruel memories into an equally cruel present, where a man who had just recently been her fiancé led a new bride under the altar. She angrily threw a plate of already eaten soup on the table. Calm down, I have to keep my composure, at least for my own sake. He had the decency to invite me to his wedding, so at least I'll eat my fill. Since this is your parting gift, then I'm going to enjoy it to the fullest, she thought, and bit into the freshly baked restaurant bread. Excuse me, the waitress's voice sounded. Seats for guests have already been initially allocated. If you tell me your name, then I can escort you to the right place. The situation was getting more and more awkward. The heroine was ready to burn with shame. What am I doing? Why did I come here at all? So also decided to eat? One after another, thoughts appeared in her head. I want to seem cool, right? Or do I want him to see me and get nervous, at least for a moment? It just doesn't make sense. And again, memories of a life that already seems distant and unreal began to flash before my eyes. I understand your parents were in an accident, and it must be very hard for you right now. I will always be there for you and support you, he told her then and wiped away tears. Why do I remember these words? Am I really still in love? The tears that ended then appeared now. I hate to admit it, but I'm really stupid. A man in a formal suit approached the table. I'm sorry, but this place belongs to Mr. Kang Seung. The waitress began to hurry her. The girl in the brown coat jumped up from her chair and testily informed the waitress. Hwang Yura! My name is Hwang Yura. Miss Hwang Yura, I'll take you to the right place. Follow me. Sorry about that. Pointing to the tears, Yura apologized to the waitress. It's nothing. They went to the right table. What a blessing that I got a seat in the corner of the hall, she thought with relief, and looked at herself in a pocket mirror. Oh my God! Just look at this! Need sunglasses! Urgently! Black circles of makeup were spreading around her eyes, betraying her terrible mood and tears. But where are they? She was fussily sorting through the contents of her purse. It can't be that I left them at that table. Meanwhile, Kang Seung sat down at the next table and looked at the empty soup plate in bewilderment. How's that? Kang Seung-hyun, you just sat down, but have you already eaten your soup? His companion exclaimed in surprise. No, I haven't eaten anything yet, Kang Seung said thoughtfully, and stretched out his hand to the sunglasses lying on the table. But before he could even touch them, someone in a brown coat grabbed them with incredible speed, bowed in apology, said, I'm sorry, and rushed to the other end of the banquet hall. It was eaten by the one who was sitting here before me, looking after the retreating girl, he suggested. What? Sat here before you? Who is it anyway? Not understanding anything, his neighbor at the table asked questions. It feels like I've seen her somewhere. Images of their long-ago meeting began to appear in Kang Son's head. But at the table, people started a dialogue, and no one noticed his thoughtfulness. Anyway, he thought, it's none of my business. Why am I such a clumsy? At the same time, at the other end of the hall, Yura, blushing with shame, put glasses on her tear-stained eyes. Chapter 2. In one of the apartments of a low building, a scream was heard. Yura! You passed! Passed! The casting director of the Vremya project wants to see you! The blonde in the grey sweatshirt was beside herself with happiness. What? Yura exclaimed, sitting on the floor. Are you serious now? I was invited to star in such a major project as Time. Yes. The sisters started hugging and jumping for joy. I'm not sleeping, am I? Yura can't believe his luck. It's all real. Come on, don't cry, her sister convinces her. Time is a new film from the famous representative of the film industry, director Yoo Young-han. Many are waiting for this film, if only because it stars such famous actors as Kang Seung-hyun and Cho Chang-hyun. 2 months ago, I went to audition for the main female role. However, no one contacted me. I've already managed to despair, Yura thought hopefully. But now 7 years of my obscurity will finally be in the past. Hwang Yura's filmography consists of background in a coffee commercial, a minor role in a teen drama, extras in a beverage commercial, and other outstanding projects. Stop, now is not the time to rejoice at all. Didn't they send a message asking you to come get the script? Don't we need to appear at the reading as soon as possible, since there has been a change of actress? Oh, was the shooting postponed? The thoughts in Hwang Yu-ra's speech jumped from one to the other. No, they said that everything is going according to schedule. Her sister, who was acting as her manager, read the message from the phone. And that you need to be in Busan in 3 days for shooting. What? Are you sure? Shooting right away, not reading? Yura began to have doubts. Yes, that's right. Does this mean that I got a role in which there are no replicas? She guessed. Jin Kyung, and is this exactly an offer for the role of Hae-rim? Seizing Yura by the shoulders, she asked a clarifying question. Hae-rim? Actually, they offered you the role of Susie. A huge boulder of disappointment collapsed on Yura's shoulders. Ha ha ha! She began to laugh nervously and fell to her knees. Yura, what are you? What is it? Her sister was scared. Susie is the ex-girlfriend of the main character. She appears in the frame only a few times, in the image of memories. She became mired in despair and eventually committed suicide. I know all this because I have read the script many times. Gloomy thoughts floated in her head. Well, if I got the role of a man who has lost all hope, then maybe I can show my best side. Jumping up from the floor, she shouted, "Great! I will play so well that I will be able to attract the attention of the public. After all, when will I be lucky enough to star in such a popular project as Time?" Exactly. Besides, Jin Kyung shouted just as loudly and joyfully, and added in a quieter voice, "You will be able to return it personally. That handkerchief." Yes, Yura was embarrassed and blushed. It's been a year. Memories of events that took place a year earlier arose as if yesterday. Cut, cut! There was a sound from the loudspeaker on the camera. Hey, you, Red Ribbon! How many more times are you planning to make mistakes? You're just an extra, but even in such an elementary role, you manage to make as many mistakes as even the main character does not. The director angrily shouted at Hwang Yura. I'm really sorry, Yura said shyly. Later, sitting on a bench, the sister tried to calm her down. Are you okay? Don't pay attention. This director is constantly doing what he snaps at someone. You were scolded just for nothing. I'm sorry. Stop apologizing for that, otherwise I'll feel even more terrible. But she only outwardly showed for her sister that she had calmed down. In fact, the director's words really hurt her. Hey, you, Red Ribbon! Those words weighed on her the most. It's been 6 years since I started my career. However, no one remembered my name. Tears welled up in my eyes more and more. Well, why am I crying at all? The shooting isn't over yet. At that moment, someone handed her a blue handkerchief embroidered with gold threads. It was the lead actor and television star Kang Seong-hyun, whom she, of course, immediately recognized. And why did he appear at such a moment? She thought through tears. But justifying herself, she said, I'm sorry. Because of me, the shooting was so delayed. I'm very sorry. At that moment, Kang Sung took her hand and put his handkerchief there. This dress is provided by the sponsor, so it can't be dirty. Better use it. Thank you, she replied, taking his handkerchief. Well, I'll go. He turned in the other direction. And the handkerchief? Yura asked. No need to return it. You can use it as you see fit. But it looks so expensive, Yura muttered softly to herself. What's your name? Kang Sung-hyun asked, stopping. Name? Yura began to speak uncertainly, with a trembling voice, and added more confidently. My name is Hwang Yura. From the memories, Yura woke up already in the car, on the way to the shooting. Then I couldn't thank him properly because I felt just awful. Even if he doesn't remember me at all, it's an honor for me to be in the same movie with him. I can't wait, she thought, looking at the handkerchief. The two sisters were already on their way to Busan to meet their fate. Chapter 3. The film set on the seashore in Busan City was filled with people. It was there that Yura and her ex-boyfriend met, who broke her heart. Chon? Kim Jong-woo? Yura exclaimed in disbelief. You? Hwang Yura? Chon asked, confused. And in anger they both shouted at the same time, Why are you here? I was invited to shoot, and that's what you're doing here. Yura asked a question, not understanding what was going on. The assistant director's voice came from behind him. Chon, the director is calling you. Okay, I'll be right there. Smiling, he answered him, and then turned to Hwang Yura, but with a contemptuous expression on his face. I would venture to assume that you again got some minor role. Better watch what you say and to whom. I don't want to be put on a par with someone like you. Got it? Chon, the assistant director made himself felt again. Yes, I'm on my way. Chon went to him with the same fake smile. Hwang Yura couldn't believe her ears. Then her sister's loud voice came from behind. Yura, we have a problem. I found out that Kim Jong-woo Yura turned to her with trembling lips. Judging by this expression on your face, you have already managed to meet him. The sister guessed shrewdly. How could he even be here? Yura said, not believing in such coincidences. I don't know the details, but it seems that he will replace Cho Chang-hyun, she heard in response. And because everything happened too suddenly, only a few people knew about it. What? Did he get the lead role? How could this even happen? It seems that this is all due to the fact that some investors are withdrawing funds. And his wife, Jin Kyung told her in a whisper. And then a memory popped into my mind, in which Chung said at parting that his future father-in-law was a potential presidential candidate for the next term. I almost forgot about everything. Sad thoughts covered Yura again. And why, when the wound was slightly healed, he suddenly becomes one of the leading actors, and I am just an extra? Her sister pulled her out of the stream of these thoughts. Yura, let's say you can't shoot today. No, why would I avoid someone like him? The heroine exclaimed enthusiastically. Any secondary role that has been honestly acquired is millions of times more worthy than the main one obtained in such a dirty way. Yura, you're right. Our actress Hwang is so cool. Jin Kyung praised her, seeing that she was not going to cry, and grabbed the boxes of drinks and said, Then read the script for now, and I'll join you as soon as I distribute drinks to the filming staff. I have to too, Yura recalled. No, just focus on your role, okay? And when her sister was almost gone, Yura grabbed her by the edge of her jacket. What is it? Jin Kyung turned to face her. I'm sorry, Yura said regretfully. Because I'm so clumsy, you constantly have to do everything yourself. Hey, who told you that? Her sister objected to her. For me, there is no one more talented and charming than you. Due to the fact that the scene will have to be shot in the water, you will have a pretty exhausting day. So do your best. And smiling, she left to distribute drinks to everyone on the set. Jin Kyung, I owe you a huge debt, Yura thought. Now is not the time or place to make a fuss about Kim Jong-woo. Susie may have a small role, but she is just as important as everyone else. I have to take full advantage of this opportunity. At the same time, two men were having a phone conversation in a suite in a nearby hotel. Kang Sung-hyun, so you didn't go to the filming location, but just decided to protest in the room? A ringing voice was heard from the phone. Well, you give. I should be the one protesting. So why are you doing this? I know, but aren't you upset? Sitting in an armchair, Kang Seung answers him, and to the silence on the phone asks a question. Why don't you answer? Even if I'm upset, what can I do about it? Maybe you have a solution. Cho Chang-hyun asks with a sad smile. I assure you, the director will not be surprised and will not react in any way, even if we do something. Stop protesting and focus on filming, okay? After the silence, Kang Seung-hyun continues his persuasion. The director is not in the best mood either, right? So stop being stubborn. It's not that the director wasn't aware of exactly how the replacement happened. However, he was so polite that I had no choice but to accept it. We will still have a chance to start together in some project. So stop worrying about me and put all your strength into playing your character with dignity. Cho Chang-hyun did not give up trying to reassure his friend and cheer him up. Let's just watch how well the actor who replaced me will do. Kang Seung agreed with this and hung up the phone. Then he started lying on the bed, thinking about the man who replaced Cho Chang-hyun in this role. Kim Jong-woo. I saw him for the first time at a wedding last month, but I could not have imagined that I would soon meet him under such circumstances. This morning he came to greet me. However, all he did was casually bow. The entire staff tiptoes around him, as his wife is far from the last person in this country. Just when he thought that a complete mess was going on, someone knocked loudly and insistently on the door. A second later, the door was already flung open, and Kwang-soo burst into the room like a hurricane. "Hey, Sung-hyun! Bad news!" Without greeting, he shouted. Kang Seung sat up on the bed and asked, "Kwang-soo, what happened?" "Why are you just sleeping here? Help us to reason with the director. If this continues, he will definitely kill someone on this set." Chapter 4. The whole film crew was shocked by what was happening. "Cut! It's terrible!" the director exclaimed, holding his head. "Listen, why do you look so scared? You have to behave like a person who is going to commit suicide by throwing himself into the water. So why do you look like you're asking for help?" The director was beside himself with rage and had already switched to screaming. In front of her stood a drenched Yura in a black jacket, wearing a white dress. "Excuse me, Mr. Director, I'm sorry," she said, shivering from the cold. "Do you know how many times you've already apologized? If you can't do everything right, then just go back to Seoul and stop causing everyone problems. The main director has completely stopped holding back." "No," Yura shouted in despair. "This time I really will do everything right." At that moment, the assistant director came up. "Mr. Director, let's take a break for a while. If this continues, you will simply lose all the actors." Gathering all the emotions into a fist, the director announced a 20-minute break. The people on the set breathed a sigh of relief. "Thank you, assistant director." Yura came over and thanked him. "No need to thank me. You're the third person to play the role of Susie. The whole team is pretty tired of changing actors." "Yura!" Jin Kyung ran up to her. "Let's go quickly. You need to get warm." The staff at the site watched with pity as Jin Kyung led away the frozen and chilled Yura. Kim Jong-woo was watching from the depths of the crowd. "Yura, be sure to turn on the heater. I'll get something warming for now." Jin Kyung led her sister into the car in the parking lot near the hotel. "Okay, thanks." Thoughts about filming did not allow Yura to relax in the warmth. How could I make a mistake 15 times in one scene? Come to your senses, Hwang Yura. Focus at last. At that moment, the car door opened and Kim Jong-woo sat in the seat next to him. "What a performance," he said mockingly. Simultaneously with these events at a nearby hotel, Kang Seung dressed to go to the set. "Kang Seung-hyun, where are you going?" Kwang-soo asked nervously. "We need to talk to Director Yu." The actress playing Susie could really die. The director doesn't seem to know the limits, to carry out such shooting, and even in such weather, and in Jin Kyung's car. Meanwhile, Kim Jong continued to mock. Of course, I assumed that you had some kind of secondary role. But who would have thought that this would be the role of a character who died in the first episode? Do you want me to get you a better role? I can do it for my ex. I don't need it. Get lost, Yura angrily replied to him. I'm just trying to help. For old time's sake, so to speak. And because I feel sorry for you. There's no need to react so hostilely, he continued haughtily. Wasn't 7 whole years of obscurity enough? Aren't you tired of it yet? These words touched Yura to the core. Kim Jong-woo, let me ask you something. Did you have any feelings for me when we were a couple? Kim Jong exhaled and then burst out laughing. How funny! Through laughter, he began his answer. Hwang Yura, let me know something too. Why did you even date me? During the 8 months of our relationship, I felt like a child playing house. You're lucky it was me. If you had behaved like that with someone else, I bet you would have been dumped in less than a month. It's just unbelievable that you behave so arrogantly, having neither money nor any significant connections. Whatever made you believe that I would end up staying with you? You should be more grateful that I stayed by your side for so long. I want you to understand how little you are worth. Kang Seung came out of the hotel, lost in his thoughts with a quick step. They should be on the beach, he thought, and heard a woman scream, Stop it! You! A young girl in a black jacket stood with her back to him, near the car, and shouted after the departing man. What's wrong with her? Kang Seung thought. At that moment, the girl sat down in despair, and hugging her knees, trembled. The jacket fell off her, and it turned out that in this cold weather she was wearing only a wet white dress. Just a minute, if you look closely. Long hair in a white dress in the middle of winter. It must be, he thought, and asked aloud, Susie. Chapter 5. Susie, Kang Seung-hyun asked. The girl in the white dress turned and looked at him with eyes full of tears. After a few moments, she recognized the tall young man in the black jacket as Kang Seung-hyun. That's the girl there. I think I saw her at Miran's wedding, thoughts flashed through his head. Yura jumped up shyly and said in an apologetic tone, Hello, mister. And what is the staff thinking about? Torturing her in this weather. She looks like she's about to faint. Kang Seung continued to think. My name is Hwang Yura. I play the role of Susie. Sorry to introduce myself so late. Yura quickly blurted out her name and fell silent. There was a pause in the conversation. Everyone was thinking about their own. Kang Seung thought it was director Yoo Young-han's fault. Yura was afraid that he heard what she was shouting after Kim Jong-woo in anger. Why do I constantly encounter him in such situations? A desperate thought flashed through her mind. Miss Hwang Yura, said a voice nearby. Yes. Kang Seung-hyun picked up, dusted off her jacket and put it on her shoulders. Your jacket has fallen, Kang Seung said, carefully adjusting the jacket on her. Embarrassed by the care shown, Yura could only stutter with excitement and quietly say, Thanks. Apparently, she was so cold that she began to stutter. She won't be able to continue filming in this state, Kang Seung thought, and turned to Yura. Miss Hwang Yura, Director Yu's room is over there. Therefore, if you want to continue to pour curses, then do it by turning in that direction. Yura guessed that he had heard everything and in a panic began to quickly wave her hands and try to explain the situation. "No, mister, I wasn't yelling at Director Yu." "It's all right, I understand you perfectly." Kang Seung bowed his head confidentially. No, it's really not what you think." Yura continued to panic. "Still, it won't do. I have to talk to him personally." Kang Seung turned towards the director's office. "No need, mister." Yura tried to restrain him. Kang Seung thought it was good that she stopped stuttering from the cold. He turned to face her, and the sight of Yura crying vaguely reminded him of a similar situation in the past. "Wait a minute, if you look closely," he thought, moving closer to her face to get a better look at her. Her sister's voice was very loud nearby. "Yura, it's good that you're already out." "Hello," Kang Seung greeted her. "Oh my God, Kang Seung-hyun!" Jin Kyung was overcome with emotions, but quickly regaining her composure, she politely said, "Hello, Mr. Kang Seung-hyun," and bowed. "Hello," Mr. Kang Seung bowed in response. "I'm here as Hwang Yura's manager," she said, taking her sister's hand. "I wish I could stay and talk to you longer, but Yura should be back on the set by now." "I understand," Kang Seung replied to her. "Yura, let's go faster. The director has already returned and everyone is waiting only for you." Jin Kyung hurried her sister. "What? Seriously?" From all these conversations, Yura lost track of time. "Mister, I really have to go." The sisters walked briskly to the set. "What did you talk to him about?" Jin Kyung wanted to find out more quickly. "Oh, nothing." Yura was laconic. Left alone, Kang Seung-hyun was able to immerse himself in memories. Hwang Yura. Ever since Miran's wedding, I feel like I've met her before. Memories of a year ago came flooding back to him in a wave. He remembered the crying girl on the set and the blue handkerchief he had given her. An image of each of their meetings appeared in his head. "Is she the girl there?" he realized in surprise. It turns out that today we met for the 3rd time. And again she cries. She cries every time we meet. And Hwang Yura and Jin Kyung were walking briskly back to the filming of the project. Chapter 6. "I apologize for the wait, Mr. Director." Yura hurriedly apologized. "You had a lot of time left. Is it really so difficult to show up at the appointed time?" The director was angry about the delay. "I'm sorry." Yura bowed in apology and began to reproach herself in her head. "I can't believe I made the director wait. Even beginners don't make such mistakes. I heard that you have been working in this field for 7 years, Director Yu said irritably. "Yes, that's right." Yura continued to reproach herself for being late. "Is that why you're being so arrogant? Do you think that since you have 7 years of work behind you, you can rest in peace while everyone else is waiting for you?" The director continued, still irritated. "It's not like that at all." Yura tried to justify herself. "No wonder you're still an unknown actress after all these years," the director said in a bored tone. These words, hurting Yura to the very heart, dropped her into the abyss of despair. "Today is the first time I've been late," she thought. "I usually don't make so many mistakes during filming. I really want to say this. But until I play the role of Susie properly, these are just pathetic excuses. There are hundreds of people like you." Lighting a cigarette, the director continued his offensive speech. "Actors who consider themselves someone just because they have worked in this field for several years." At that moment, someone abruptly and brazenly pulled the cigarette out of his hand. "What? Who is this?" he shouted and turned sharply to find out what kind of impudent person dared to do such a thing. Why are you taking out your stress on someone else? Kang Seung-hyun was standing next to him and calmly held a cigarette so unceremoniously snatched in his fingers. Just return the roll to Jang-hyun and calm down. What the hell? You left, saying that you refused to act. If so, what are you doing here? Director Yu Yang switched to shouting. And you, Director Yu, what are you doing here? If I were you, I would shoot other scenes instead of wasting time like this. Kang Seung remarked to the director in an even tone of voice. Says the one who refused to act. Yu Yang abruptly snatched his cigarette back. Hey there, go get ready to shoot. Yes. Yura caught herself and ran to get ready. The conversation between the director and Kang Son switched from a raised tone to a calm one. Have you changed the way of protest? Do you want to embarrass me in front of everyone? What nonsense. If I had such a plan, I definitely wouldn't be so lenient with you, Kang Seung said. A cruel man, the director complained, to which Kang Seung-hyun only smiled. The actress playing the role of Susie, is she from acting school? He asked, looking at Yura's stage preparation. I have no idea. Initially she, auditioned for the role of Hae Rim. The director answered him disinterestedly. What do you mean, like? How can you not know such things when you personally attended the casting? Kang Seung was surprised. And how should I remember everyone who passed the casting? Director Yu Yang-han objected. I was too tense because of the situation with Chang-hyun, so I instructed the assistant to choose someone, and he brought her. Even with 7 years of filming experience, she can't concentrate in front of the camera at all. 7 years? That's quite a lot. Kang Seung was surprised once again, but I don't recall seeing her in any works. I heard that she played several minor roles, but I'm not even sure about that. The director is already bored with this conversation. Just watch. I don't want to waste time explaining this. Meanwhile, Yura was preparing for the scene and trying to get into character. Yura, are you okay? Jin Kyung was worried about her sister. Yes, I'm just tuning in. Unfortunately, I feel that I really want to die right now. Yura answered her with a smile. Jin Kyung was seriously scared and taking her beloved sister by the hand said, You need that feeling, but only now. You know what I mean, right? Yes, don't worry. Yura smiled at her sister again. And again she began to try to mentally enter into the image of Susie. The desire to show myself well in front of Kim Jong-woo completely knocked me off balance, and I lost the true feelings of my character. Even the slightest effort to do something well can express a desire to live. Let's just dive into those thoughts that made me want to give up. Get ready! Action! The crew was heard on the set. Everyone present froze in anticipation, and Yura walked along the beach into the cold sea, trying to dive into the most unpleasant moments of her life. No wonder you're still an obscure actress after all these years. Her left foot sank into the cold water. Are you just going to give up like that? Yura was already in the water up to her waist. Just do what you're told. You're just hopeless. There are hundreds of other people who have not only talent, but also connections, almost completely. Yura went into the water and got to her most terrible memories. Then a crying, trembling voice was heard in the handset of the phone. Yura, your parents. But that was then. And now Yura went into the water with real tears and the expression of a person who stopped wanting to live. Chapter 7. The sea waves were moving towards a girl walking alone in the water. No one was around. Everyone else was watching her from the movie camera screen. Everyone present held their breath, amazed at the truthfulness of the emotion. She doesn't look like a person who's made a lot of mistakes, does she? Kang Seung-hyun asked the director a logical question. It's too early to judge this. Looking at the screen, Director Yu answered him. How stubborn you are. But anyway, Kang Seung began to worry about Yura. On the screen, the girl was already almost completely submerged in the water. Large tears rolled down her eyes, in which there was no light and feelings visible. How stubborn you are. But anyway, Kang Seung began to worry about Yura. On the screen, the girl was already almost completely submerged in the water. Large tears rolled down her eyes, in which there was no light and feelings visible. Is she really just playing? Even an experienced actor like Kang Seung couldn't believe his eyes. Cut! Great! A voice sounded from the megaphone on the camera, which meant the end of the filmed scene. The entire staff breathed a sigh of relief. After all, the shooting of this scene was rather delayed. Finally! Really finished! What a relief that no one was hurt! Happy voices were heard in the crowd. Among these people was Jin Kyung, who was watching her without taking her eyes off Yura. She was the first to see that Yura was not going to return to the shore after the filmed scene. Director Yu Yang got up from his chair. I don't understand why she couldn't play like that before. It could save us so many problems. Wait a minute. Kang Seung was the second person who noticed that Yura was not going back to the shore. Kang Seung-hyun and Jin Kyung rushed to the sea at the same time. But the man was faster than the girl. In a few moments he was in the water. On the shore, people who did not understand anything asked each other questions. What's going on? Is the actress drowning? Near the very edge of the water, falling to her knees from impotence, Jin Kyung looked hopefully into the distance. Kang Son ran along the bottom to the depth, dived into the water with his head. Around him was the murky, cold water of the winter-cold sea. He looked at Hwang Yura's white dress going into the depths and began to swim there quickly. Grabbing her hand, he immediately began to float up, because even he did not have enough air. Yura, Hwang Yura, wake up! You can't just leave me like that! Jin Kyung shouted at the top of her voice. Please open Hwang Yura's eyes! At the same time, Kang Seung was busy trying to resuscitate the drowned girl. After opening her mouth, he began to give her artificial respiration and pressed on her chest so that the water that got into her lungs would come out. And so, thanks to these efforts, the girl in the white dress coughed and began to breathe. Yura! Can you hear me? See? Having almost lost faith in a good outcome of events, Jin Kyung was beside herself with happiness. I am, Yura said, just starting to come to her senses. Yes, Yura, you're alive. Kang Seung-hyun saved you. Everything is fine now. Did Mr. Kang Seung save me? Yura asked, not quite understanding what had happened yet. Yes. Lying on the sand, Yura stretched out her hand to Kang Son. Really, she said. You can thank me later. Kang Seung took her hand in embarrassment. Really salty, Yura finished. What? Her sister did not understand. Really salty. Yura burst into tears from the shock she experienced. Jin Kyung decided not to argue with her sister. Waves in the setting sun rolled onto the shore, on which a real tragedy almost happened. A few minutes later, a door opened in the hotel room, and a man sitting in an armchair saw a man entering. Back? Have you talked to Director Yu? He asked the newcomer. What? What happened to you? He noticed that the man who entered was soaked through. A small incident. Can you bring me some clothes? Kang Sung-hyun answered him without details. Did you quarrel with the director and he pushed you into the water? And what will he do if our main star catches a cold in this weather? Kwang-soo assumed the most incredible scenarios. I can't believe I missed something like this. Seong-hyun, tell me already what happened. I can't believe that the first thing she told me, thought Kang-seung, is really salty. Ha ha ha, he laughed at the top of his voice, taking off his soaked clothes. So, you won, right? I still didn't understand what happened to Kwang-soo. Ha ha ha, seriously. What a nice girl, Kang-seung thought. Chapter 8. Kang Sung-hyun had just come out of the shower and was wiping his head with a towel. Have you finished yet? Kwang-soo asked him. Yes, Kang-seung answered him and picked up a stack of paper sheets from the table. Why do you need the script now? Kwang-soo asked another question in surprise. Now that I've stopped protesting, the director wants me to go back to filming, Kang-seung explained to him. What? Do I really have to shoot all night? His friend was upset. Have you ever seen a director idol? Kang-seung continued his explanations. He always goes according to schedule, but because of my protest, everything went wrong. So I'm sure we'll be shooting all night. And I was so hoping to play poker with other managers. But apparently it's not fate. Kwang-soo was finally upset. If you want to play, go ahead. It's me who will have to act, not you. Kang-seung began studying the script. Are you sure? At first joyfully, and then a little more restrained, Kwang-soo asked, No. There were notes of bitterness in your voice. Then do you want to spend the whole night with me? Kang-seung offered him. Okay, I'll take you to the filming location. Kwang-soo decided to play poker. They walked out of the hotel door and Kwang-soo noticed two women talking. Isn't that Susie's manager? He drew attention to one of them. Yes, you're right. Kang-seung identified one of the women as Jin Kyung. These women were having a dialogue near the entrance to the hotel. You can use room 205. Some actors will have to shoot all night, so you will be comfortable, the hotel manager said. Okay, thanks. Jin Kyung thanked her. Oh, you're welcome, the manager replied. Kang-seung came up to her from behind and asked a question. What is it? Do you have not enough available rooms? The hotel manager shuddered with fright. They scared me. Why do you always sneak up like that? Hwang Yura was supposed to return to Seoul right after the scene was shot. But I have to stay because you refuse to act, the manager explained to him with displeasure. What? Seriously? Kang-snee felt guilty and turned to Jin Kyung. I'm sorry, Hwang Yura's schedule suffered because of me. Don't worry, Mr. Kang Seong-hyun. If it wasn't for you, Yura might have had big problems. Thank you so much. Jin Kyung was a little embarrassed. There's nothing to thank you for. By the way, are you sure she doesn't need to go to the hospital? Kang Seong asked. Yes, I told her that too, Jin Kyung told him. But she's just stubborn and says she's fine. So there's nothing I can do about it. She seems to be fine, but... At that moment, Yura looked out of the door with a question. What's up with our number? When she saw Kang-son, she was embarrassed and blushed. Mister! Yura! We were just talking about you. Her sister smiled at her. Is she really all right? Kang-seung thought and asked, Miss Yura, are you all right? Yes. I'm very grateful that you saved me, mister. The heroes stayed to talk together, and Kwang-soo approached Jin Kyung to get acquainted. You're welcome, and I'm very sorry that you had to stay because of me. Kang-son's guilt did not let go. Don't apologize. On the contrary, I am very happy that I can stay on the set longer. Yura laughed. She clearly has self-control. Kang Seong appreciated her and said, Then I'm calm. Tomorrow it will be difficult to shoot if you suddenly catch a cold. Therefore, go to rest as soon as possible. Of course! Thank you again so much for today. Yura bowed low in gratitude and at that moment remembered something. Mister, wait a minute. I need to give you something. I left it in the car. I'll be right back. She ran to the car, leaving the puzzled Kang-son alone. Nearby, Jin Kyung and Kwang Soo were talking and laughing, clearly finding a common language. Here! Yura quickly returned and handed him a neatly folded blue handkerchief embroidered with gold threads. Ah, this, said Kang Seong, taking the handkerchief in his hand. Do you remember? You lent it to me about a year ago when the commercial was being shot. Yura rattled confusedly. I thought I said you could keep it. Kang Seong-hyun remembered that meeting. But it looks terribly expensive. Yura explained her action. Anyway, thank you for remembering that. Kang Seong tried to bow, but Yura bowed faster, without stopping talking quickly. No, I am much more grateful. I didn't think you'd remember it at all, so thank you. At that time, this handkerchief gave me so much strength, thank you very much. And for today, I am also very grateful to you. And thanks a lot for your great game too. In general, thank you for everything. I think there are enough thanks for today. It's better to go to rest, Kang Seong advised her, very much embarrassed. Kwang Soo came up to them with a telephone receiver in his hands. Seong-hyun, we have to go now, the director called. Okay, Kang Seong answered him and turned to Yura. Well, I'll go. Of course. Have a good shoot. Yura said goodbye to them. Two men were walking from the hotel to the filming location. Hey, Seong-hyun, Miss Jin Kyung seems very nice. Kwang Soo shared his observation with a friend. Jin Kyung? Kang Seong did not understand who he was talking about. Manager Hwang Yura. We just introduced ourselves to each other. Kwang Soo blushed with embarrassment. I thought she was much younger than me, but it turned out she was 34 years old. Doesn't she look much younger? Yes, you're right, Kang Seong agreed. Being a manager is quite difficult. So she also does everything alone. She must have a lot on her mind. Most likely. Kang Seong was thinking about something and spoke more slowly. Hey, are you even listening to me? Kwang Soo was indignant. This is not good, Kang Seong came to the conclusion after thinking. Go first to the director and tell him that I will come soon. I need to do something urgently. He said that and ran towards the hotel. Hey, where are you going? I was supposed to go play poker as soon as you started shooting. Kwang Soo shouted after him. In a couple of minutes in room 205. Mister, what did you just say? Hwang Yu-ra asked in surprise. I said stay in my room for the night, Kang Sung-hyun repeated, handing her the keys. Chapter 9. Yu-ra, sitting on the floor, looked up questioningly. Kang Sung-hyun, a little worried, hands her the keys to his room. Hwang Yu-ra, will you take him? Kang Sung repeated his question. I'm not sure I heard correctly. Yu-ra couldn't believe her ears. What exactly did you hear? Mr. Kang Sung-hyun thought that he made a mistake somewhere in his speech. Stay the night in my room, Hwang Yu-ra said uncertainly. Exactly. That's what I said, he confirmed. So can you take the key already? Realizing that she had heard everything correctly, Yu-ra was shocked by such a proposal. She began to shake with anger. She cleared her throat so that her voice wouldn't shake and confidently told him, "Look, I'm not that kind of person at all." It was as if Kang Seung-hyun had received a blow to his head. "Hwang Yura, listen." He tried to justify himself. But Yura didn't let him finish. "I need to reread the script. Could you please leave?" In the memory of Kang Son, Kwan-soo appeared, who recently taught him. "Seung-hyun, you always miss all the most important details of the conversation. It is not surprising that people have misunderstandings." "Miss Hwang Yu-ra, I think you misunderstood me," he began to say in embarrassment. Yu-ra, looking up from the demonstrative reading of the script, already rudely cut him off in mid-sentence. "Look, can you just leave? My room will be free all night, so you and your manager can stay there." Despite Yu-ra's shout, Kang Seung continued his offer. "Today, most likely, I will have to shoot all night. It was my fault that you had to stay here for another day. And after what happened today, you need to rest properly. Will you shoot all night?" Yura began to realize that she had misunderstood him. "Most likely," Kang Seung confirmed. "I see." Yura blushed from the fact that she thought so badly about this man. She continued to stare at the script, afraid to look him in the eye. "I'll leave the key here. Be sure to use it and have a good rest," Kang Seung-hyun said, turning to the door. "It's time for me to go. See you tomorrow." After the door closed, Yura couldn't hold her emotions out of shame. How was born again? How invigorating the shower is! Jin Kyung entered the room from the shower with a smile. "I thought I heard someone's voice. Did someone come?" Yura was sitting dejectedly on the floor, hugging her knees. "Did you know that Mr. Kang Seung-hyun will be filming all night today?" she asked her sister sadly. "Yes, I told you that some actors will be on set all night so we can use this number." Jin Kyung answered her, not understanding anything, but feeling something was wrong. Yura finally gave herself up to emotions, and not knowing who to blame, she screamed, "But you didn't say that Mr. Kang Seung-hyun would be among them." A little later, in the corridor on another floor, the sisters were looking for Kang Seung-hyun's room. "Sister, is everything really okay?" Yura was not sure that she was doing the right thing. "Can we just accept this offer?" "You didn't make him do that," Jin Kyung answered her with a confident tone of voice. "He suggested it of his own accord, because of him you had to stay here. It would be impolite just to reject such an offer." But still, Yura wanted to accept this offer, and at the same time she tried to find a reason why she should not have done so. "Forget it. If you don't want to, we can go back." Jin Kyung was already starting to lose her temper, and after a negative nod of her head from Yura, she continued, "See, you like this offer too. Come in first. I'll be back after I win some money at poker." Yura wished good luck to her outgoing sister. I started to open the door with a key and thought, to be honest, I have a pretty light sleep. And when I first started living with my sister Jin Kyung, I had great difficulty falling asleep for the first week. So I decided that I wouldn't go to bed at all today. The door opened, and her eyes were just a great room. It was spacious, with a large TV and a huge bed. With a run, she fell on the bed and hugged the pillow with both hands. "How tired I am," she just thought. And then she caught the smell from the pillow. I can smell Mr. Kang-son. A lot really happened today. I was sure I was fine, but now I feel how tired I am. If he hadn't been so attentive, I would have become a hindrance on the set again tomorrow because of my condition. Falling deeper into sleep, she was already jumping from one thought to another. But most of all, I'm glad that Mr. Kang Sung still didn't disappoint me. I don't want to lose faith that good people still exist. Hwang Yura instantly fell asleep on the bed of this luxurious room, not knowing that someone saw her enter there. That person was her ex-boyfriend Kim Jong-woo. Chapter 10. The next morning in Busan turned out to be sunny. Kang Sung-hyun was rereading the script while sitting under the awning. Suddenly he heard a woman's voice addressing him. "Mister, hello?" Looking up, he saw two girls. "Have a good shooting today." Yura smiled at him in greeting. Her hair was braided in a long braid. Jin Kyung was standing next to her. "Ah, Miss Hwang Yura." He recognized her. "Did you sleep well? How are you feeling?" "Yes, everything is fine, thanks to you. Thank you very much." Still smiling, she answered his question. "I'm glad. Would you like some coffee? We still have time before filming starts." He handed her a cup of coffee, which Yura gratefully took. "And you, Miss Jin Kyung?" "Yes, I will too." "Thank you." Jin Kyung received the same cup as her sister. "And how do you know my name?" Kwang Soo-hyun said. Kang Seung-hyun did not hide it. "I see, you have such a good memory." Jin Kyung was surprised that a person of such high status remembered her name. "By the way, if you think about it, mister, where did you sleep after filming?" Yura caught herself. "I'm here. It was quite cold and uncomfortable. I thought I was going to freeze to death, but otherwise it wasn't so bad," he said, barely holding back a smile. "What? How so? Are you sure you're okay? Have you caught a cold?" Yura took everything at face value. "Just kidding. I slept in the manager's room." "I'm sorry," he guessed from his eyes that Yura did not understand his humor. "I thought it seemed to me yesterday. But it seems that Mister really likes to have fun," thought the confused Yura, and sipped hot coffee from a glass. "Mr. Kang Seung-hyun, hello!" A voice came from behind. It was Kim Jong-woo who approached them with his fake smile. "Hello," Kang Sung-hyun greeted him. "Oh, you're playing the role of Susie, aren't you? I think your name is Miss Hong Yu-na, right?" he asked Yura mockingly, although in fact he knew her name perfectly well. What a jerk, Yura thought, but she only said out loud, "Hwang? My name is Hwang Yura. I think you're here because of today's scene with memories that you have to shoot. I saw you yesterday. I saw you enter Mister's room late at night. You two have probably been rehearsing the upcoming scenes all night." "Mocking," he said, clearly hinting at something else. Yura froze in shock at his brazen slander. And Kang Seung-hyun turned to him with an indifferent expression on his face. "Listen, Park Chul, what's your name there?" "Sorry, I have a bad memory for names." "Kim Jong-woo. You know my wife, don't you? It seems that you were at our wedding." Kim Jong-woo was a little annoyed by the lack of reaction to his provocation. "What? Was Mr. Kang Sung at that wedding?" "Ah, that's right, Kim Jong-woo," Kang Sung continued calmly. "Did you go sightseeing yesterday?" "It seems you are the only person who didn't know that my shooting lasted throughout the night." Kang Sung-hyun's voice was firm and confident. He pronounced every word as if he were hammering a nail with a hammer. Under such pressure, even the sarcastic Kim Jong-woo did not immediately find something to say. "Oh, that's how. I went to bed pretty early, so I didn't know about your night filming. Accept my apologies." He tried to smooth over the situation. There was clearly an atmosphere of conflict in the air. "Accept an apology?" Kang Seung took a step towards his interlocutor. "Kang Seung-hyun? Why aren't you getting ready to shoot? Kwang-soo ran up to them and, noticing Kim Jong-woo, greeted him. Kim Jong-woo, hello. You did a good job in the morning scene? Thank you, Kim Jong replied. What are you doing? There are a lot of reporters here today. Do you want your name to make headlines again? Kwang-soo whispered in his friend's ear. He clearly heard the whole conversation and tried to prevent the irreparable. Kang Seung-hyun, calming down, took a deep breath. Mr. Kim Jong-woo, if you want to continue behaving like this just because you are married to a politician's daughter, Kang Seung-hyun said, taking a pack of napkins from the table and handing them to Kim Jong-woo. First wipe off the sweat, and he followed his manager, leaving Kim Jong-woo trembling with anger. Oh my God, how awful! Just look at how quickly his expression changes. Yura, let's get out of here. Jin Kyung did not remain in debt, having been silently watching before. Hey! Then why did you go to Kang Sung-hyun's room? Didn't you know he was filming all night too? Kim Jong-woo wanted at least to vent his anger on someone. Do you want to seduce a celebrity like him? What? And pulls to become popular due to such scandals? This jerk is asking for a good beating. Jin Kyung couldn't stand it and almost tore towards Kim Jong-woo, but Yura managed to hold her back. Sister, no need, she said to her sister and turned to him. Kim Jong-woo, it's even sad that you're so narrow-minded. Do you think a little before you say something? What? Kim Jong, not believing that she had decided to be rude to him, jerked furiously in her direction. But Yura instantly stopped him with an outstretched hand, leaning a napkin against his forehead. Did you forget how Mr. told you to wipe your sweat first before behaving like this? From the audacity of Yura, everyone fell into a stupor with their mouths open. If you can't remember such elementary things, how do you cope with the script? Yura turned around and, hugging her sister, walked towards the set. Hey, Hwang Yura, wait a minute! I said stop! Kim Jong-woo shouted after them in anger, but no one listened to him anymore. Chapter 11. On the set on the seashore, the final preparations for the shooting were being made. Specialists exposed the lights, prepared microphones and cameras. We slightly changed the script. Director Yu Yang began an explanatory speech. It was decided to omit all the dialogues and after that just add voice over voices. Therefore, no matter what you talk about, it will all be deleted. The main thing is to focus on emotions, especially Suzy. Do-jin is allowed to be cheerful, since at the moment he does not suspect anything. But Suzy should be a little sad. She hides that she decided to commit suicide. These are the last memories she shares with Do-jin. Got it, Yura replied enthusiastically. As soon as you get to the stop line, turn to each other, tune in to the right mood and hug. The director gave the last instructions. You can discuss all sorts of minor things. Feel free to improvise. You should look like a real couple in love. Oh, and one more thing. Miss Hwang Yura. Yes, Yura replied nervously, thinking that she had already done something wrong. But Director Yu, after looking at Kang Sung-hyun, changed his mind about saying what he was going to say earlier. Oh, nothing. Let's rehearse and start shooting right away. The director hastily and haltingly finished his speech. God, Kang Sung thought. If he wants to apologize, then let him just do it. Why look at me like that? Filming was about to begin. The actors were told where to move so that the cameras would take everything off along the way, put on the last makeup. So, Do-jin, Suzy, attention! Director Yu's voice came from the loudspeaker. How can I be? I'm so nervous! Yura began to worry. Kang Seong-hyun, in a white shirt half unbuttoned, stretched out his right hand, hugged Yura and hugged him. Yura shuddered in surprise and looked at Kang Seong. And Mr., on the contrary, is very relaxed, she thought. That's right. He's not Kang Seong-hyun right now. He's up to Jin, my beloved. You need to behave like a real couple. I can't make mistakes like yesterday. Motor. The camera rose higher and turned on, filming two lovers walking along the shore. I've never had to act in improvisational scenes. Yura began the dialogue uncertainly. But I always wondered what the actors were talking about at such moments. Well, we usually talk about anything. About how they didn't have time to have breakfast, what was for lunch, and what will be for dinner. Something like that, Kang Seong replied with a relaxed smile. Then what will you have for dinner? Yura abruptly turned and, smiling, looked into his eyes. You're learning fast, Kang Seong smiled back at her. I don't know yet. I'm thinking about eating samgyeopsal and tteokbokki. What is this strange combination? Yura laughed. Have you never tried them together? It's very tasty, the interlocutor convinced her. The camera zoomed in on the laughing faces of two people in love. Great, the director thought, looking at how they play their roles. I'm also interested in something. Kang Seong decided to ask his question. What is it? Yura had to maintain a dialogue without leaving the role. Apparently, you met Kim Jong-woo for the first time today. Then at Miran's wedding, were you just a guest? What? Did he see me? How to be? I can't keep the expression on my face. Yura began to panic in her head and said out loud, Yes, did you see me? Only briefly, Kang Seong confirmed. I was just there as an acquaintance of Miran, she lied, blushing. I had no idea that you also knew her, and for some reason, I don't remember you at that wedding. Our families are friends. He explained his presence at that celebration. We need to change the subject as soon as possible. This thought did not leave her head, and for this she tried to turn the conversation to filming. I need to show a slight sadness, but it's a little difficult. You can handle it. Just like during yesterday's shooting, Kang Seong supported her. By the way, can I ask, what were you thinking at that moment? Gently holding her hand, he asked another question that made Yura's stomach clench. How to be? I can't tell him about all these dark thoughts. Yura went into her thoughts again. They stopped at the right line and continued to hold each other's hand. I was just thinking about all the years that have passed since my debut, and how stupid I am. Well, in general, such thoughts, Yura became sad and came up with a suitable answer on the go. Kang Seong looked at her thoughtfully and told her his situation from the past. Maybe not as long as you, but once I was also a struggling actor, he began to say. I remember once being an extra on the set of some commercial, and it was the worst day of my life. The director was incredibly angry. Have you heard of Lee Jin-sun? Yes, to my regret, she replied, without taking her eyes wide open in amazement from him. At that time, I wanted to end it all. Kang Seong continued his story. But suddenly, the main model of the video came up and asked my name. For all that time of my obscurity, he was the first and only one who asked this question. That's what gave me the strength to work harder to make my name known. So that's why you asked me the same question then? Yura looked at him in amazement. Blue waves lapped at the shore, flooded with sunlight. The wind stirred their hair. The two lovers stood and looked into each other's eyes. What should I do? Tomorrow I will have to go back to my routine life again. Images of her ordinary existence began to flash through Yura's head. I am well aware that this amorous look is just part of his acting. However, I really want this moment to last forever. I don't want to let go of this hand. If only I was playing the role of Hei-rim. If she played the main role, it would be great. In despair at the hopelessness of her situation, tears came to her eyes. Her lips trembled, and she almost burst into tears, when suddenly Kang Sung pulled her to him and hugged her with all his might. "See, you did it," he whispered softly in her ear. Chapter 12. Thank you very much, mister, for asking my name last time, for looking after me after filming. I'll never forget it. Yura whispered back to him. They were still standing, embracing on the seashore. If you are grateful, then try. Looking into her eyes, said Kang Seung. Let's meet next time as partners on another project. Yura smiled back at him, but there were still tears in her eyes. Speaking of which, Kang Seung touched her cheek with his palm. Have you ever done a kiss scene? A kiss? Yura asked, stuttering nervously and still faltering. I've never acted in such scenes before, but I think I can do it now. He slowly approached her lips with his lips. She had already held her breath before the most important moment. Time seemed to have stopped, and even the noise of the waves, which had been rolling loudly on the shore, became quieter. She closed her eyes, and instead of the long-awaited kiss, she felt his lips touch her forehead. Good luck in Seoul. Kang Seung began to move away from her. And try not to cry so much. The last thing she remembered from these shootings was his face and his eyes. Further events and training camps for Yura passed in a blur. The whole world, which had just appeared, crumbled like a house of cards. Yura, have you packed all your things yet? Jin Kyung asked her as she opened the car. Yes, I didn't take a lot of things on a trip for one day. Yura woke up from her memories. Look, I think they're here to interview the actors who played the main roles in the project. Jin Kyung drew Yura's attention to the film crew who was nearby. Nearby, on a quickly prepared site, an active creative process was going on. Chairs were set up, cameras were already connected, the presenter was rereading the prepared questions for the stars. When will I be able to sit on this chair? With a slight note of sadness, Yura asked the question as if to nowhere. Is it enviable? Jin Kyung asked her with a smile, trying to support her sister. No, I have long passed this stage, just upset. Why do I keep running and I can't get off this treadmill in any way? Yura explained to her. Hey, you just need to run even harder. Jin Kyung hugged her and hugged her tightly. Don't you think that if we run until we drop, sooner or later we will be able to get off her? And then what? Yura still asked sadly. Perhaps we will be so tired that we won't be able to go any further. No! We'll take a break, drink some water and go to the marathon. Jin Kyung encouraged her. You've been training on the treadmill for 7 years, so the first place will definitely be yours. I'm absolutely sure. The support of the sister and her most confident tone charged with positive energy, and Yura. Wait, Jin Kyung noticed something she didn't like. What is it? Hwang Yura hasn't seen anything yet. The reason for Jin Kyung's indignation was Kim Jong-woo, who at that moment was being seated in one of the chairs for the invited superstars of the project. Like an eyesore, a piece of garbage that can't even be recycled, she muttered discontentedly. Let's go, Yura. I don't want to look at that bastard for another second. I'm coming! Almost turned around to Yura's car. And then she noticed that Kang Sung-hyun was also there. As usual, he was irresistible and captured all the female attention around. How strange, Yura began to reason mentally. Just an hour ago I felt like I was very close to him. But why does it seem so far away now? No, I just forgot myself for a moment. Because he was so kind and friendly with me. He's not the person I can reach. Yura began to sink into the emotional abyss of despair again. He's a real celebrity. Attractive, tall and well-built. We add acting skills and get the perfect actor. A man whose splendor can be seen with the naked eye. A real celebrity with countless fans all over Asia. Our paths will probably never cross again. It was already obvious. This is the reality I live in. She continued to convince herself that they could not be a couple, but hope still lived in her heart. She remembered his kiss, and her face seemed to burn with fire. Crazy! What am I thinking about now? She started waving her hands to calm this heat. Hwang Yura! Are you just going to stand there? The sister by the car was already ready to leave. I'm coming! Yura hurried, but the thoughts kept spinning in her head. Does this feeling not leave me because I'm still absorbed in my role? Thanks for watching. If you like this story, please like